Hey, FEI, I see you have a new viral sensation Tokyo Olympics campaign called We Don't Play. Trying to make the case, we're serious. We are hardcore athletes. This is not a game. The next part of this video says, this is a sport like no other, where animals partner humans together as one. In this team, everyone is equal. What? And I mean this with respect, the fuck? Who approved this? The horse and the human in these events are not equal. They're not equal adjacent. They're not even on the same planet as equal. I know this, you know this, it's just a flat out lie. And it gets better. And by better, I mean worse. This is a team united by a shared language that needs no words. Of course you don't need words when you have spurs, sometimes very significant bits, and riders who are not afraid to use them, and horses that are trained with whips, even if they're not using a whip in the competition. If the horse, quote, misbehaves or is not responsive enough or is just testing or is being naughty or is being, quote, lazy, and yes, they all need air quotes because it's all nonsense, then the rider gets to do, well, you know, whatever they need to do. There were still some riders in the Olympics punishing those horses. If you look closely on a big enough screen, wow, they're digging into the horse's sides with spurs for all sorts of reasons, right? Now, the standard line, the fairy tale, is, of course, that spurs are only used for subtle communication, for precise cues, because these horses are so incredibly responsive and well-trained. But man, the moment that horse stops really giving his all, yeah, those are not cues. Those are, I'm going to stick the horse in the ribs. If you did that to a human athlete, that would be a felony. You would go to prison. They're not equal. Well, if they were a team, a true partnership and equal, then the horse would get to respond to the rider when the rider misbehaves, when the rider is rude. They're so not equal. Then it goes on. This is more than just a team, not just a team, but more, because these are the best of friends who have complete trust in one another. Are you fucking kidding me? And then it gets even better. A bond, it says, a bond worth its weight in gold. Huh? See what you did there? The gold. And sure enough, the video shows humans, of course only the humans, holding up their medals proudly, and then shows a little short clip of someone, you know, popping the champagne. I'm sure these are all things that are incredibly motivating for the horse, you know, the full team member, the best friend. But you are right, FEI, it is a sport like no other. No question, that part is true. Because, let's think about this. If the horses are not actually team members who are equal, and I think we've pretty much established that, then what are they? I think that the horses are basically sporting equipment, like a surfboard with fur. But they are not a sport like any other, because if the horse is sporting equipment, in what other sport does sporting equipment bleed? In what other sport does the sporting equipment feel pain and fear and cry alone in their stall for their missing friends while the rider's out partying? That does not sound like a BFF kind of relationship. When the great Brazilian surfer, Italo Ferreira, when his board broke while he was competing, they just brought him another one, and he continued and even won a medal. In what sport does sporting equipment break and then need to be euthanized? And of course, sadly, that also happened in the Tokyo Olympics. A horse broke, just like Italo's surfboard broke, but the horse had to be killed. It was a catastrophic break. They made the decision. I'm sure it was a very painful and I'm sure appropriate decision. In what other sports would that happen? Yes, humans sometimes are severely injured and they're not euthanized, but they can be killed. But the human made that decision. They chose to have that as their dream, that as their goal. They worked their ass off because they want to be up there on that podium. The horses don't choose that. And if the horse was given a choice, what would he have said? Would he have said, yes, I'll sacrifice my life so that you can stand on that podium and get the champagne and get your fucking gold medal? Yeah, I'll die. I'll die for that. In what world is that a true statement? And now the theme. We don't play. This is accurate. This is 100% accurate. I mean, all the stuff about bonds and friendship and all that, that's complete bullshit. But we don't play, yeah, that's accurate. FEI, you are in a position of great power. I have no power. There's nothing I can do. I'm making my little YouTube video, but I can't do anything, but you can. And in many ways, only you, because you really hold most of the power at the top to make changes that would ripple throughout the entire equestrian world. But it takes a lot of courage. And it takes a willingness to say, we don't want to be on the wrong side of history anymore. That time's up. You know, we're living in 2021. This is a time when the very idea of consent, of right of consent, to how one's body is used by another for pleasure or entertainment. We cannot be lecturing, children on how important right of consent is, and then at the same time, not ever offering that to animals we literally ride on and sometimes kill in the process. You can make that change. Yeah, it would be incredibly painful, and tons of people, I'm sure, would lose a ton of money, and then a world of unimaginably awesome opportunities would open. There are literally tens of thousands of us who are doing it, onesie, twosie. One over here in her farm and one over here in her barn, usually being criticized by all the others because she doesn't use a whip. I'm not advocating we stop riding horses and we stop working with horses and we stop competitions. I'm advocating for a deep change where horses actually do live the ideals. They get right of consent. So many horses will step up to a challenge that exceeds anything they did when they were in serious, hardcore, conventional training. Because we do play. It's a true partnership. The horse has his ideas too. And we can either shut all those down and once again use a model of obedience and responsiveness, and the horse must do what I say when I say it. Or We open all the possibilities for exploration with the horse in a playful, autonomous context, and then watch what happens. And if you want to see some examples, FEI, go and look at the hashtag #YouInspired, which is not we don't play, it's hashtag we do play. If you are really committed to the things in that video that talk about partnership and trust and equality, then own it. I don't imagine that anyone from FEI you'll actually see this, but I needed to step up and say something. If we don't step up and speak for horses, who will? No horse should have to die to serve someone else's dream. If you can imagine that you could ask a foal, a young horse, what would they dream for themselves?
Everything changes, don't be afraid of time. Stealing this moment out of your open mind. You could hold steady or you could turn and run. Will you be ready when once in a lifetime comes? If once in a lifetime comes, it's in the heart, in the blood, running through every one of us. It's in the air, in your lungs, the words slipping from the tip of your tongue.